how powerful the statement is. Sometimes, we find education very much expensive, isn't it? Expensive not only financially, right? In different ways, sometimes, you have to put too much efforts from your side to achieve education, right? So even from the viewpoint of labor, from the viewpoint of effort also, right? From the viewpoint of concentration and attention also, sometimes we find education quite expensive, means quite difficult, isn't it, right? And so many of the people, especially young people, so they give up their education, they abandon their education, right? And they fly for foreign employment, or they give up their education, and so they keep on trying for something else. Okay. And so sometimes, Nani, how you chora there? Okay, so sometimes we find education too much expensive, but the scholar has said, try ignorance. अब शिक्षा भन्ने कुरा हामीलाई महँगो भयो भने एकचोटि ignorance try गर्नु अरे क्या. Ignorance means keeping yourself away from, right, the sources of information, the sources of education, isn't it, right? And just spending your life as a layman, as an illiterate person. So once when you start spending your life as an illiterate person, as an uneducated person, when you keep yourself away from the sources of knowledge, sources of education and information, so you will find your life too much expensive, much more expensive, isn't it? So very important quotation. There is another quotation by Will Durant. He says, education is progressive discovery of our own ignorance. Progressive discovery. Progressive means continuous discovery of our own ignorance, isn't it? So let's say inside us, okay, inside our mind, inside our, let's say the body, and there is layers and layers of ignorance, isn't it, right? Ignorance means stupidity, foolishness. Ignorance means, let's say, just opposite to awareness. Okay. So actually there are layers and layers of ignorance in our mind, and the more you study, the more, as the more and more you keep on learning, you keep on removing those layers of ignorance, those layers of foolishness, those layers of stupidity from your brain, right? So this is another popular quotation. And there is another quotation by Sidney J. Harris. He says, the whole purpose of education is to turn mirror into windows. Say, what is the difference between mirror and window? Okay. यो लाइन तिमीहरूले हजुरबुवा हजुरआमा मम्मी बाबाले सुनाएको हुनुपर्छ. न चोर हार्यम न च राज हार्यम न भातृ भाज्यम न च भारकारी व्यय कृते वर्धत एवं नित्यम विद्याधनम सर्वधनम प्रधानम. Right? And even the meaning of these lines of Sanskrit have been highlighted here. It cannot be stolen by thieves. Means your knowledge, your education can't be stolen by thieves, nor it can be taken away by the kings. Raja, in the days of past, the rulers, especially the kings, so they used to take away the properties of the common people by force. Even the Rana rulers and so many kings in the days of past, right, for their comfort, for their luxury, they used to take away the wealth of the common people. But education is something, which can't be taken away by any ruler, how powerful the person is, isn't it? And it cannot be divided among brothers. अब दाजुभाइहरूको बीचमा हैन मम्मी बाबाले अब किन्दिनु भएको जोड्दिनु भएको सम्पत्तिहरू भाग लाग्छ, तर शिक्षा भाग लाग्दैन, ज्ञान भाग लाग्दैन, isn't it? So it can't be divided by brothers. It doesn't have a weight, not a bharakari. So education is not a weight, isn't it? You don't have to bear the great load, isn't it, right? अब शिक्षा भन्ने कुरा कहिले पनि भारकारी हुँदैन भनेको हामीलाई लोड हुँदैन, हो कि हैन त? If spent regularly, it always keeps growing. See, so education is something which keeps on growing when you spend. But when you talk about money and other wealth, once you spend, it goes on decreasing, isn't it? But education is something when you spend, it keeps on increasing. अब मैले भाइ बहिनीहरुलाई पढाउनु भनेको नि, हैन मैले भाइ बहिनीलाई पढाउनु भनेको मेरो ज्ञान पनि बढ्नु अरे के त शिक्षा भन्ने कुरा जति बाँडियो हैन जति खर्च गर्यो त्यति बढ्छ अरे के सो व्यय कृते वर्धत एवं नित्यम and another it if spent regularly it always keeps growing the wealth of knowledge is the most superior wealth of all vidya dhanam sarva dhanam pradhanam so these lines of Sanskrit also highlight the importance of education there is another quotation or saying by Malcolm X education is the passport to the future for tomorrow belongs to those who prepare for it today so if you people are studying today, if you people are learning today, if you people are gaining education today, knowledge today, information today, it means you are preparing for tomorrow, right? The future
Yes,
is in your hand because you are preparing today. And so the future belongs to you people because at present you are learning, you are gaining education, you are gaining information, okay? And finally, there is another quotation education is the most powerful weapon we can use to change the world. So, these books, these pens, okay, so these are the powerful tools. कलम भन्दा तरवाल के अरे तलवार भन्दा कलम बलियो भन्ने हामी डिबेट पनि गर्छौं नि त हैन so the most powerful weapon which can bring great change in the entire world is education right now let's talk about what is education okay so it is said here the formal non-formal or informal process of gaining knowledge is education and education is the heart of all-round development so these lines also share you very clear idea means we gain knowledge we acquire knowledge formally non-formally as well in an informal way right you gain formal education from schools from colleges from universities isn't it and you gain education even non-formally also means through workshops seminars trainings isn't it and sometimes there are adult classes okay for the adult people and just to make people literate sometimes there are non-formal education systems right especially even young boys and girls some adult people whenever they have the spare time whenever they have free time so they attend such classes okay to get education and informally also means from our parents from our elder brothers and sisters from our neighbors from our senior citizens we also learn education through radio through FM stations through television and these days we have access to social medias and these social medias also right impart you learning means impart you education give you education so we gain education formally non-formally even informally and the second line also highlights the importance of education that education is the heart of all round development sarvangin vikas ko mutu nai shiksha ho so education is the heart of your all round development your physical development your mental development, your intellectual development, your emotional development, your psychological development, okay? So education supports for your all-round development, even for your financial development, right? If you study medical science, if you become a doctor, a successful doctor, it will bring financial prosperity in your family. If you become a successful engineer, no doubt, it will also bring financial prosperity in your family. So education also supports us financially, right? Okay, and not only that, education also helps you to earn name and fame, popularity as well, right? Means education also enhances your personality, your, goodwill, your popularity, your name and fame, isn't it? Lots of things are there. Now let's talk about scopes of education. So what is said? Only educated human resource can materialize real development in a nation. Okay, so human resource, so many times we have talked, okay, human resources are the most active, okay, agents of, the society, isn't it? Of course, only human beings, because of their intelligence, because of their skill, because of their experience, and because of their, skill to operate and to handle and to use scientific and technological devices and instruments. They can utilize so many other resources in our surrounding: water resources, minerals, isn't it? And forest resources, land resources. There are so many resources in our surrounding. But until and unless we human beings, we apply our skill, our knowledge, and our skill to operate so many scientific and technological devices, these resources of the nature, they are meaningless. जस्तै एउटा खोलाको पानी हैन, त्यो रिसोर्स हो, त्यसमा पोटेन्शियालिटी छ, तर जबसम्म हामी मान्छेले त्यसमा हाम्रो स्किल लगाउँदैनौँ अनि हामीले जुन साइन्टिफिक र टेक्नोलोजिकल डिभाइसेसहरू छ, मसिनरिजहरू छ, त्यसलाई जबसम्म मान्छेले प्रयोग गर्दैनन् तबसम्म त्यो खोलाको पानी हाइड्रो इलेक्ट्रिसिटी बन्दैन हैन। अब सुनकोशी नदीको पानी अथवा तामाकोशी नदीको पानी, कर्णालीको पानी हाम्रो घरसम्म हाइड्रो इलेक्ट्रिसिटी भएर आउँदैन जबसम्म मान्छेले त्यहाँ आफ्नो स्किल, आफ्नो अनुभवहरू लगाउँदैन, isn't it? So human resource can turn, means human resource can turn the proper plans and policies into the achievement. Okay, so only human resource can materialize, means we can turn the better policies, the better plans of the development into reality, right? People need education to be qualified, trained, and efficient. So the more and more you get educated, the more and more you grow educated, the more and more qualified you become, the more and more trained you become, and at the same time you become an efficient human power. Okay, and education also sharpens our mind and makes people knowledgeable, systematic, conscious, disciplined, productive, professional, and diligent. So education actually sharpens our mind, it brightens our mind. Education drives away, isn't it, right? Let's say the garbage from our mind, dust from our mind, ignorance and darkness from our mind, and it makes our mind quite brighter, isn't it? And education makes us knowledgeable. We become systematic in our behaviors, systematic in our attitude, systematic even in our performance, right? And at the same time, we grow conscious, we become disciplined, and our mind becomes productive, means creative, isn't it? And so we can invent something new, we can innovate something new. We also become professional, and diligent means hardworking. And let's talk about objectives or goals of education. So there are so many objectives of education. The first objective is, since education has multi-dimensional use, it plays multiple roles in our life. So education doesn't have a single, use. It has multi-dimensional use, right? Education enhances your personality on the one hand. Education also makes you aware. Education makes you, a sociable creature, means it also supports for the process of socialization, isn't it? It also helps you to join a particular career, means you become a professional. So there are multi-dimensional use of education. It has multiple roles. Some major goals have been highlighted in your textbook. The first one is to provide knowledge, skill, and efficiency. So education provides you knowledge, skill, as well as efficiency. Number two, to promote creative and innovative works. So we need education to promote creative works, innovative works. Innovation means, Priti Khatibara, do you have any idea about innovation? Become self-reliant means self-dependent, and increase decision-making power. We need education. Another, to sharpen language skill also. हामीले ज्ञान प्राप्त गर्नुको अर्थ हामी भाषामा पनि एक्सपर्ट हुँदै जानु हो, शब्दहरूको ज्ञानमा पनि, भोकाबुलेरीमा पनि हामी एक्सपर्ट हुँदै जानु हो, राइट? एउटा राम्रो पढे लेखेको व्यक्ति र एउटा इनोसेन्ट एन्ड इलिटरेट पर्सनमा डिफरेन्स हुन्छ। एउटा राम्रो एजुकेटेड पर्सनले हैन शब्दहरूसँग खेल्न सक्छ, धेरै शब्दहरूलाई उसले प्रयोग गर्न सक्छ र आफ्नो भाषालाई, आफ्नो अभिव्यक्तिलाई उसले चाहिँ एकदम लोभलाग्दो बनाउन सक्छ, प्रभावकारी बनाउन सक्छ, कन्भिन्सिङ बनाउन सक्छ। So an educated person can handle different vocabularies, isn't it? And with the help of these vocabularies, with the help of let's say convincing words and languages. You can get the things done by some other people. You can easily convince the people for your ideas. You can seek support of others through the tactful, skillful use of words and vocabularies. Okay, so gaining education means also becoming familiar with new vocabularies, new words, and terminologies. Okay, to maintain prestige, dignity, and quality life. So education also supports, right, to maintain your prestige, your dignity, your quality life. होइन फलानुको छोरो त डक्टर पो अरे, राम्रो फिजिशियन, राम्रो न्युरोलोजिस्ट, होइन फलानुको छोरो त सिभिल इन्जिनियर। अब त्यो परिवारको एउटा डिग्निटी र प्रेस्टिज नै माथि पुग्छ क्या, होइन। अब त्यहाँ फलानुको छोरो त राम्रो एउटा इन्जिनियर, सिभिल इन्जिनियर, अब छोरी दिनेहरूको लाइन हुन्छ त्यहाँनिर, राम्रो राम्रो फ्यामिलीबाट। फलानुको छोरी त डक्टर, होइन भनेपछि अब त्यहाँ राम्रो राम्रो घरबाट अब सम्बन्ध नातागोता आउँछ, isn't it? And so even education enhances the prestige or the dignity of the family, your individual dignity as well. Okay, go ahead. To build up moral and social qualities such as positivity in attitude, behavior, and thinking, we need education, right? So if you keep on learning the books, if you keep on, right, gaining education, right, means if you keep on upgrading, right, if you go on gaining higher and higher level of education, so you become quite positive minded, because you come across the knowledge, the education, the ideas of some very well placed, people. जस्तै अघि मैले सुरुमै हामीले चाहिँ नि केही एकदम प्रसिद्ध विद्वानका भनाइहरू हामीले हेर्यौं। इफ यु फाइन्ड एजुकेसन इज एक्सपेन्सिभ, ट्राई इग्नोरेन्स। अब एउटा ठूलो विद्वानको भनाइ हामीले पढ्दैछौँ, यी भनाइहरूले हामीलाई के गर्छ त, दिस पपुलर सेयिङ्स, दिस पपुलर कोटेशन्स of the great scholars make you positive minded, isn't it? This develop positivity in your brain. To develop the sense of brotherhood and sisterhood for peace and mutual understanding, we need education, right? So education turns you a global citizen, right? Means when you keep on learning, then you come to learn that you are not only the citizen of Nepal, you are not only the member of the particular society and the family. You come to realize that you are, right, the member of the entire world. You are the very important person of the whole world, isn't it? You are the very important creature, right, of this planet, the earth, isn't it? And you are born to serve not only your family, not only your community, not only your nation. You are born to serve the whole world, as Mother Teresa did, as Florence Nightingale did, isn't it? As so many other people in the world, they have served the whole world, isn't it? And so education makes you a global citizen. And so you now start working for global peace, right, global prosperity. And so education develops such sense in your mind, to develop the sense of responsibility towards oneself, society, nation, and let's add one more world to the world also. You become a responsible person, not only to yourself, but to your family, to your society, to your nation, and to the entire world. To learn to run and manage family successfully. And so an educated woman, an educated housewife, an educated person, whether male or female, right, can, let's say, run the family quite successfully, can manage the family quite successfully. Another, to inspire, to tackle means to face with social problems and evils. So the more and more you become educated, right, the more and more courageous you become, the more and more knowledgeable, the more and more self-confident you become, to fight against so many of the evils which prevail in our society, so many of the social problems that exist in your society, right? To create employment and decrease economic dependency. And so if you become educated, right, then you become self-employed, you start a career, you become a professional. Now you don't depend economically upon the other members of the family, because you start earning yourself. You become a professional yourself, right? And so you can minimize economic dependency upon others to become active agent of social transformation. So being an educated person, being a doctor, being an engineer, being a good politician, right? A well-studied politician, okay, being a social worker, being an entrepreneur, now you can help to bring transformation or change in the society, okay? Okay, we are going to talk about historical glimpse. अब नेपालमा शिक्षाको कुरा गर्ने हो भने नि पहिला पहिला नेपालमा गुरुकुल शिक्षाहरू हुने गर्थ्यो क्या. So in the past, people gained education by visiting ashram of guru. We also known as a heart of prestige or sage, and gained moral and religious education. होइन, आजभन्दा 100 years ago and 150 years ago नेपालमा गुरुकुल शिक्षा थियो. अब वन जंगलमा चाहिँ नि अथवा अलिकति पर साधु महात्माहरू बस्थे हैन. जस्तै अब महाभारत रामायणको कुरा गर्ने हो भने महाभारतमा चाहिँ पाण्डवहरूले अनि कौरवहरूले हैन द्रोण आचार्यसँग गएर शिक्षा लिएका थिए. उनको हैन कुटीमा गएर उनको आश्रममा गएर, त्यसैगरी राम लक्ष्मणहरूले चाहिँ हैन विश्वामित्रको आश्रममा गएर शिक्षा लिएका थिए. अब अहिले पनि धेरै नेपालीहरू जस्तै अब उहाँ चाहिँ बनारस, इन्डियाको बनारसमा जाने अनि गुरुकुल शिक्षाहरू पढ्ने, संस्कृत शिक्षाहरू पढ्ने गर्छन्. त पहिला पहिला नेपालमा चाहिँ यसरी गुरुकुल शिक्षाको सिस्टम थियो. र त्यो गुरुकुल शिक्षा चाहिँ कस्तो थियो त भन्दा इट वाज टोटली ओके कन्सर्न विथ गेनिङ मोरल एजुकेसन. त्यसमा रिलिजियस र मोरल एजुकेसनहरू हुन्थ्यो हैन. आफ्नो मातापिताको कसरी सेवा गर्ने, समाजको कसरी सेवा गर्ने, एउटा असल राजा कसरी बन्ने, असल राजकुमार कसरी बन्ने, अनि धर्म सम्बन्धी ज्ञानहरू हुने गर्थ्यो क्या त्यतिखेर. So this is the example of the picture, the example of a Gurukul education. हैन. अनि बिस्तारै के भयो त हाम्रो देशमा then began the rule of Ranas. Okay, Rana rule began in Nepal, isn't it, right? And those Ranas, they ruled over more than 103 years. Okay, and so when we talk about formal education system in Nepal, then the formal education system began from the establishment of Darbar High School, okay, in the years. And Jang Bahadur Rana, when he returned from England, actually he visited England in his trip. Raja Rana पहिलो राणा प्राइम मिनिस्टर जंग बहादुर चाहिँ बेलायतको भ्रमणमा गएछन् र बेलायतमा गएर, बेलायत भनेको इंग्ल्यान्ड, अहिले हामी युके भन्छौं खासमा हैन, त्यहाँ गएर त्यहाँको एजुकेसन सिस्टम देखेछन्. एन्ड ही वाज मच मोर इन्फ्लुएन्स्ड, इम्प्रेस्ड बाय द फर्मल एजुकेसन सिस्टम अफ ग्रेट ब्रिटेन. एन्ड ही रिटर्न फ्रम ग्रेट ब्रिटेन एन्ड ही इस्टाब्लिश्ड दरबार हाई स्कुल, ओके, जस्ट फर हिज ओन फ्यामिली मेम्बर्स. यो जंग बहादुरले जुन 1910 मा दरबार हाई स्कुल इस्टाब्लिश गर्यो, यो चाहिँ एकदम आफ्नो परिवारको छोराछोरीको लागि मात्रै थियो. The children of the common people were not allowed to join the school. This school was opened and established inside the palace of the Rana rulers. Okay, but anyway, for the first time, the formal education system began from Nepal in the year 1910 with the establishment of the Darbar High School by Jang Bahadur. Previously, this was the shape of Darbar High School, but at present time it has been renovated. अहिले चाहिँ नयाँ कन्स्ट्रक्सन दरबार हाई स्कुलको यस्तो बनाएको छ. अहिले त अब यहाँ सबै छोराछोरीहरू सबै कमन पिपलका छोराछोरी पनि पढ्न पाउँछन्. And then the first English medium school, means Darbar school, was limited to the relatives and family members of the Ranas and royal members. So I have already told you. And later on, the fourth Rana Prime Minister, means Dev Samser, he opened more than 100 schools inside the valley and outside the valley. यो देव शमशेर भन्ने राणा प्राइम मिनिस्टर चाहिँ भएका राणा प्रधानमन्त्रीहरू मध्ये he was the most liberal one, and he was the democratic Rana Prime Minister. Okay, he always favored the education even for the children of the common people. So he was the most democratic and the most liberal Rana Prime Minister. And he also gave much importance to education. So he established more than 100 schools inside the Kathmandu Valley and outside the Kathmandu Valley. Okay, so among the Rana Prime Ministers, Dev Samser is the historical Rana Prime Minister. He always worked to provide rights for the common people. He always favored providing education even for the children of the common people. Then next one was Chandra Shamsher. अब चन्द्र शमशेरले चाहिँ के गरे त भन्दा उनले पनि चाहिँ नि जस्तै त्रिचन्द्र कलेजहरू त्यतिखेरका राजा थिए त्रिभुवन विक्रम हैन त्रिभुवन भन्ने राजा त्रिभुवन थिए र आफ्नो नामबाट राजा र आफ्नो नामबाट उनले त्रिचन्द्र कलेजहरू इस्टाब्लिश गरे एन्ड ही अल्सो एबोलिश सती सिस्टम हैन भाइ बहिनीहरुले पढिसकेको हुनुपर्छ क्लास 8 मा पनि राइट चन्द्र शमशेर ही अल्सो एबोलिस्ड सती सिस्टम फ्रम नेपाल. And he also, actually gave importance to education system. And then next one was Juddha Shamsher. Juddha Shamsher actually, he established SLC board in 1990. जो SLC examination छ यो examination को board SLC examination को board 1990 मा जुद्ध शमशेरले चाहिँ नि establish गरेका थिए. Okay. And then Padma Shamsher, another Rana Prime Minister, he opened schools and encouraged female education. He opened schools such as Padma Kanya and Kanya Mandir. So Padma Shamsher also emphasized education. He established, Padma Kanya College as well as Kanya Mandir. Especially, Padma Shamsher. He also actually he prioritized female education. Means he gave priority even to the female education. Okay. The next one was, until the advent of democracy in 2007 BS, that means in the year 2007 BS, the Rana rule ended. Rana rule ko समाप्त भयो 2007 मा नेपालमा प्रजातन्त्र आयो. Okay, for the first time the Rana rule came to an end and democracy was introduced. अब यतिखेरसम्म 2007 सम्म हाम्रो देशमा जम्मा स्कुल कतिवटा रहेछन् भन्नु त the number of school was just 321 throughout the nation. देशभरि जम्मा 321 वटा स्कुल मात्रै थियो. Means until 2007 the education of our nation was in the infancy stage. भनौं न 2007 सालमा जब नेपालमा प्रजातन्त्र आयो हैन त्यतिखेर नेपालको शिक्षा भनेको नि चार हात खुट्टा टेकेर बल्ल चाहिँ नि यसो घस्रिदै थियो के. The education system of Nepal was at the infancy stage. It was just crawling. चार हात खुट्टा टेकेर हुन्छ नि साना बच्चाहरु भर्खर उभिन सिक्ने बच्चाहरु हो त्यसरी नेपालको अवस्था शिक्षाको अवस्था त्यस्तो थियो है 2007 सम्ममा. So you can see here types of schools, teachers and students. Okay, the number of schools, the number of teachers and the students were very less till the year 2007 BS. See, basic school from 1 to class 5. अब यो चाहिँ अहिलेको डेटा हो. अहिलेको हाम्रो देशमा यति स्कुलहरु रहेका छन् है. This is the current data. Actually the data of 2068 हो यो. अहिले हाम्रो चाहिँ स्कुलहरु जम्मा यति छन् जुन हामी टेक्स्ट बुकमा पनि देख्न सक्छौं है. You can also open your textbook and you can go through the data. So what is said here? Present situation of education in Nepal. The literacy rate in Nepal is just 65.9%. And when we talk about the literacy rate of male, it is 75.10%. But the literacy rate of female is just 57.4% as per the national census of 2068. So if you look at the literacy rate, अब आजलाई समय लगभग सकिदैछ हेर है. जति सक्दो छिटो हामी भोलि यसलाई सुरु गरेर भोलि हामी यसलाई एन्ड गर्छौं है. समय